In this episode, we do some repairs on the road and then visit the Jack Daniel's Distillery in Lynchburg, Tennessee. Welcome to Glamping Doodles. This is the show where we take you around this great country of ours, traveling by RV. We give you a taste of what the cruising life is like and have some fun along the way. So buckle up and come along for the ride as we go cruising around the USA by land. In the previous video, we took you to the Raccoon Mountain Caverns and then visited the Tennessee Aquarium in downtown Chattanooga. So, what do you think of Chattanooga?
It's cool. I like it. I like Tennessee.
Yeah, Chattanooga's a cool town. Good dining.
You're the only 10 I see.
Oh, I already said that, so you stole it from me. It's a cool town. A lot of good dining, fun nights out, stuff to do.
Yeah,
they got the river.
There's a good restaurant we went to last night.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like Chattanooga.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Every time I fly out into JFK, there's always flights for Chattanooga, and I'm like, what is this?
It's a cool little town. I mean,
yeah, no, I like it.
It's big enough you can get everything you need, but it's not so big that you got, like, you know.
It's actually a really beautiful city.
Yeah.
Everything's very clean.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you walk, it kind of reminds me of Boston a little bit for some.
Boston clean?
Yeah, Boston's like, it kind of has like that old look to it. I don't know. Chattanooga's, it's cute.
All right, so we are going to pack up today and head to Manchester, where my cousin lives. Probably not going to do really any filming there. Maybe we'll show you the RV park or something. But then we're heading to Nashville tomorrow. But right now we're packing up. Well, I was unplugging the shore power cable here. I smelled a little electrical burning, and I was looking at my plug and then touched it. That's really hot, and you can see the burn marks there. So I'm gonna have to replace this. So I got to stop and get a new head to put on here.
Yeah.
Because you can smell it burning.
Is that what I smelled this morning?
I don't know. Don't touch it. It's hot. Like the metal's hot.
I won't touch the metal. Oh yeah, it smells like burnt plastic.
Yeah. So yeah, I need to get a new head for this then before we do anything.
Where do we get that?
Probably get it at Home Depot or something, or any Camping World or something.
Okay.
We'll figure it out on the way. Always inspect your stuff. Just corrosion. I mean, maybe it got, I don't know, wet or something in there at some point, but it happens. It was a short drive up to Manchester with a stop for parts. So it's pretty easy to fix this. Basically, I just went and got a new one at a RV dealer, right, that has a parts department. It's like 30 bucks. And then you unscrew the old stuff off of here. And then, yeah, it's a little bit charred right there. So that right there is a little bit charred at that end. So I'll probably cut all these lines a little bit shorter just to get fresh wire to what I'm gonna do right here. So basically what I want to do is I want to go down the wire until it's not melted anymore. So like it stops melting the wire about right here. So that's where my new tip of the wire is going to be. So I need to cut this a little bit shorter. You can see how it's all burned up here. You should always carry a basic toolkit with you on your RV. You never know when you're going to need it. I obviously need to upgrade my electrical tools a bit as I'm using scissors to strip the wire. Alright, now I got them all set, ready to go. And then white to white side, black to black, green to green. Should be good to go. Alright, like new, ready to plug in. We spent a rainy night in Manchester, Tennessee, catching up with family that I hadn't seen in a while. Just one night here in Manchester at the KOA. Didn't really film it, hung out with my cousin. We're actually about to go do that again right now. We're gonna go to Lynchburg, Tennessee to take a tour of the Jack Daniel's Distillery.
It's 9 a.m.
9 a.m.
And we're gonna have whiskey.
That's right. We're gonna have a lot of whiskey before noon, and then we're gonna head to Nashville. So.
Jeez.
But it is a pretty cool RV park here. I mean, they've done a lot. They got like a playground, they got jump pads, they got volleyball, they got little putting green, they got a little lake.
And the summer, it must be really nice.
They got a pool.
It's a little cold, so that's why.
Yeah, it's kind of empty, but so yeah, we're gonna go do the Lynchburg lemonade stuff, and then head to Nashville. All right, let's go.
Don't forget to be kind.
We took the RV to my cousin's place and then loaded up in their car and drove to Lynchburg, Tennessee.
Rocks are meant to be picked up and thrown.
Lynchburg is home of the Jack Daniel's Distillery, and oddly enough, Lynchburg is a dry county. You're not allowed to buy alcohol in the county.
Overgrown.
All right, so this is my cousin Jake and Kate. Hello. Say hello. And y'all live nearby here, so took us on a tour.
Yes. You know Lynchburg better than me, so you roll through it.
But it's cool. She's pretty excited about it. You were really looking forward to giving us this tour.
Yes, I like giving local tours. I think it's fun. This is
she's been
home, so I like showing off home.
I like whiskey,
Yeah.
so this would be great for me.
Yeah,
Nice, you've been a good tour guide.
good.
Well, we'll have fun
Give it
today.
time.
Yeah, we'll have fun. All right, so we're starting the tour. It's 90 minutes, costs about $30 depending on which tour you want to do. So we're gonna go get in the bus. They're gonna take us around. So every drop of Jack Daniel's in the world is made right here. The Jack Daniel's property is quite massive. We took a bus drive to the end of the property and took the tour walking back. The first stop was one of the many aging houses.
So the next step, as far as building barrel houses, we moved to 4 floors tall, but they hold 40,000 barrels in them. So these were built from the 60s to the 80s, and then we started building them basically from the 1980s to the early 2000s in the 4-floor version.
These are the barrel houses where they age all the whiskey 5 to 7 years, and that one right there, there's 20,000 barrels, and they have some of these buildings hold 65,000.
These two guys are our charcoal production team. If you've drank Jack Daniel's in the past 15 to 16 years in 170 countries internationally, you drank whiskey that went through charcoal that one and or both of these men produced. Wrap your head around that. So Tracy's been doing this about 22 years. Darren's been doing this about 20 years now, and they are the only charcoal full-time production guys we got. It will not burn you, it's just kind of warm. That's steam coming off because it's wet. And kind of a good average size. This is a pretty decent average size. But you notice there's a lot of inconsistency to it. So we take this size and we mill it down to something smaller because it works better as surface area for filtration that way. But this is what they end up with from 4 of these ricks put together. So these stacks of wood. But yeah, don't touch your nose after because you have a souvenir you might not want to go to Nashville with.
Unfortunately, we didn't actually get to see them burn the wood to make the charcoal, but here's a little time lapse of what it looks like.
So the credit goes to the ones they know of that started it in the area of Lincoln County, Tennessee, but nobody knows who that was. They just know where it was. And so the records really kind of date back to the early 1800s to mid 1800s kind of era as far as the charcoal mellowing becoming a norm for Lincoln County whiskey making.
We got to sample the alcohol before it was mellowed.
Yeah, what do you think? So that's before the charcoal. We're not going to waste the filter on that stuff. So that also helps you understand a little bit. So the corn oils and fatty acids.
One of the most important aspects of making alcohol is your water supply, and this is where all the water for Jack Daniel's comes from.
You can go inside there roughly 1.5 miles. At that point, the water's coming up. So the primary source of this is an aquifer system. And then the way Jack would have worked, Jack would have used what you can see because nobody was telling Jack Daniel he had to treat the water because that water is completely potable, it's drinkable. And so Jack drank it and he used it for everything you can imagine to make whiskey as well. So cooking, fermentation, cleaning, and cooling and refrigeration.
Jack himself used the water as it emerged from the cave, but now they source it a lot further in to make sure it's not contaminated. This is the original office building used by Jack Daniel's himself.
With that, being the non-office manager type, Jack rarely touches his own safe. and since he rarely touched his own safe, he had problems with it typically. But if we get Lim Motlow to open it for him, no big deal. Until one morning, Jack shows up first. It becomes a big deal because he's the only one here. Jack basically was in a hurry one morning to get in and get out because he had some travels to get on the road for and doesn't want to get stuck at work basically. So he comes in, tries to open his own safe, cannot manage it, gets himself frustrated, he kicks it with his left foot, he shatters his left big toe, doesn't see a doctor, all those bad decisions lead up to an infection, and then from that, a lot of complications. So about all they can do is amputate, so they take off his toe first, then they take off his foot, then they take off below his knee, and then eventually Jack's entire left leg to his hip. But 6 years after kicking that safe, Jack Daniel dies from complications from the infection, from the injury, from kicking that safe one morning in 1905 and thinking no big deal. And that was it. But he would have been about 61 years old in 1911. And if you think about the story, we tell it because people want to know how Jack died, of course, but also as a lesson teacher, think about the lessons learned. There's a lot of them, but what's the #1 lesson to that whole story?
Don't kick it.
Don't kick safe. So think about this, cause and effect. All that doesn't matter if you think about it this way. Never go to work too early. It could kill you. There you go. Think about it. It's about a 5-day fermentation typically, and then that's the second most important part to the flavor of Jack. So the yeast culture that we use for fermentation, we can't confirm or deny that it goes back to Jack himself, but we can confirm it's at least from 1938 at the latest, and that's the second most important part to final product right there.
Well, couldn't film inside the fermentation and distillery because they're worried about I don't know, electronics causing sparks because there's like 140% or 140 proof alcohol in the air. But they make a lot of whiskey here. So they make 100,000 gallons a day of Jack Daniels. They're crazy. And then they take the extra mash after it's been alcohol taken out, and then they feed that to the pigs and stuff. And then all the extra charcoal and charcoal filters, they make pellets out of that for like smokers and stuff. So pretty interesting. So in there, can't really film it also, but it's the charcoal filter, and that's what makes Tennessee whiskey. Otherwise it'd just be bourbon. So they actually filter all the basically the moonshine through the charcoal filters, and 10 feet of charcoal filter, and there's 72 different filters.
We are the only major spirits group in the world that makes its own barrels to make its own product. And so it's a very interesting kind of concept that way too. Kind of normally what would happen is a spirits production facility buys a barrel from a barrel making facility called a cooperage. We do all of it. We're using a barrel like a tea bag. If you make bourbon and Tennessee whiskey, use a barrel new, use a barrel once, it's always American white oak, but you can't get the same thing from the same barrel more than one time. And so just like steeping tea, you're not going to get the same tea from the same tea leaves more than one time. And if you kind of look at it from the top, you'll see where it kind of stained the outside, kind of comes up. But most of that evaporates and it rises to the heavens, and they call that the angel share.
It was finally time for my favorite part, the tasting. We sampled 6 different varieties of Jack Daniels.
You can miss out on this really easily. So after the first little bit, leave a little bit to come out.
Well, that was a tour. What'd you guys think? Fun times?
It was so fun.
Whiskey on an empty stomach.
Yeah, empty stomach
highly
drinking the
recommend.
tasting.
Yeah.
I noticed you didn't finish all yours.
No, I couldn't. I mean,
He actually tasted
I got
mine.
Yeah.
He got double shots.
She's driving.
She's driving. There you go.
driving, so
there you go.
yes.
Well, that was cool. If you're going to be in the Lynchburg area, definitely worth the tour.
yeah.
Maybe 2.
Shout out to Ben.
Yeah,
He was
thanks to
great.
Ben. He was a great host. Now it's time for lunch. I'm starving.
Yes.
I get only whiskey in my stomach. I need something else. After lunch, we drove north to Nashville. We'll pick things up in Nashville in the next episode. Please click that like button and ring the bell to get notifications when we post our next video.
I'm talking from back